and good afternoon. I'm Creeson Agecoutay. Welcome to APTN National News. A wildfire is burning out of control less than a kilometre away from a Dene and Métis community in the Northwest Territories. Around 300 residents have been forced to flee their homes in Fort Good Hope as fire crews continue to work the fire perimeter. There have been no injuries and no property damage reported as of this morning. NWT Fire says the blaze was started by an abandoned campfire and has now grown to over 200 hectares in size. The majority of residents have been evacuated to Norman Wells, with a few relocating to Dene. Others went to a fish camp 15 kilometers away on the Agecoutay River. NWT Wildfire will have an update on the situation this afternoon. Spirits were high as the family of Morgan Harris celebrated her birthday with a memorial powwow over the weekend. Harris is one of 4 Indigenous women murdered by an admitted Winnipeg serial killer. Her family found out last week that the Manitoba government has started the process to search the Prairie Green landfill for her and another victim's remains. Sav Jones spoke with 2 of Harris's cousins.
I'm here at Camp Morgan next to the Brady Road landfill south of Winnipeg at a memorial powwow for Morgan Harris. With me is her cousins Melissa Robinson and Kirsten Witwicky. Thank you so much for joining me today. Can you tell me why you wanted to hold this powwow for Morgan Harris?
Well, the idea behind it was to honor her for her birthday. With her birthday just passed on June 12th, we want to do something big this year for her because as a family we said, you know what, she deserves that much. So let's celebrate her in a good way, and we want to have a powwow for her. Yes.
And on Tuesday, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew announced that the landfill search has actually been, the process for it has been ongoing for a few months now. How did it feel to hear that news?
It's just like a weight off your shoulders. It's a pretty amazing feeling to know that things have already started and there's actually some action and not just words. So that's just a pretty amazing feeling,
Yeah. Because we definitely went in on Tuesday thinking, oh, here we go again, another meeting, another hurdle to jump over. But to hear that, you know, ground has been broken, our healing lodge is close to completion, and hydro lines going in over there, it was very exciting. Like exactly like my cousin said, it was like that weight off of our shoulders lifted. You know, we've been in this fighting stance for so long now, you know, fighting each level of government to have this landfill searched, and here we are finally now getting it done. So, you know, it means a lot to our family.
And so how old would Morgan have just turned?
She would be 42. Yeah.
And what is something that you would both love for people to know and remember about Morgan?
She was feisty.
I would agree. You know, she was, I think I'm 6 months older than her. But she, feisty is the word to use it, you know what? But it was never turned towards her friends or family. It was always very, you know, she was extremely loyal in her feistiness.
Our 100-pound bodyguard.
Well, thank you. You know, that's a great place to end it. And thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you.
You so much.
Thank you.
Thanks. Back to you in studio.
Thank you, Sav. If you have a bed to crawl into when you go to sleep tonight, remember that not everyone is so lucky. For their 50th anniversary, Manitoba Blue Cross has partnered with a local organization in Winnipeg to help provide beds to local children in need. Once again, here's Sav Jones with more.
Manitoba Blue Cross is celebrating their 50th anniversary by making 50 twin-size beds for children in need.
We've decided to partner with an amazing local charity, Sleep in Heavenly Peace, to build 50 beds for 50 kids that otherwise need to sleep on the floor or sleep on couch cushions or something like that. So we thought we'd give back to the community on our 50th anniversary.
That's Manitoba Blue Cross President and CEO Ben Graham. Volunteers from the health benefits provider and the not-for-profit Sleep in Heavenly Peace got together in the blazing sun to work hand in hand. The beds will go to children in Winnipeg aged 3 to 17 years old who do not already have one and exhibit financial need.
And we estimate there's well over 4,000 of those children in Winnipeg.
Bonnie Emerson is the co-president of the Winnipeg chapter for Sleep in Heavenly Peace, which she started with her partner 4 years ago.
We just topped over 1,000 beds installed, 1,050. I would say well over 50 to 70% benefit Indigenous families and children. Well over 90% of the homes that we visit and install a bed are single moms. And so we make sure that the kids know that mom, reached out to us and applied, and look what mom provided for you.
Emerson says each bed set, which includes a mattress, bed frame, and bedding, is worth around $350, and they'll be making their way into local Winnipeg homes next month. Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A shelter in downtown Montreal will soon open a transitional housing project for Indigenous people in recovery. APTN's Maricela Amador gives us a tour.
All the sleeping quarters are on the second and third floor, so at nighttime this is really critical. It's close by.
Residents will be able to live at Indigenous Project Quebec's new second stage housing facility for a period of 5 years.
So this will be their space, so this is their own space. As well, they also have their shared rooms, so there's a living room, a dining room, a conference room.
The 3-story building is located in the city's Milton Park area, home to much of the city's unhoused Indigenous population.
Donc, plusieurs personnes doivent se demander pourquoi le secteur, en fait, ça a été décrit comme une crise humanitaire par l'Ombudsman de la ville de Montréal. Donc, PAC et les différents collaborateurs souhaitions venir là, adresser cette crise-là qui on sait là, sévit depuis un certain moment.
There actually are 3 floors of outdoor spaces that are accessible to residents. This would be the second floor, a residential space.
As of July 1st, 14 rooms will be available for Indigenous people in recovery, along with indoor and outdoor communal spaces.
This space is going to be the center for healing and catching people when they need to.
Leilani Shaw is the executive director of the Montreal Indigenous Community Network, or the Network.
I really hope that it gives a space for people to really heal and to kind of ask those introspective questions to themselves and, kind of have a space where they can see the future for themselves.
The program is culturally adapted and will have on-site caseworkers and elders. The goal is to provide programming and partnerships that support residents in their healing journeys. Shaw says that addiction and low self-esteem are the result of colonization.
Is that shame wound that many Indigenous people feel, and that's kind of what having Indigenous-owned organizations are working towards, is kind of having a space for people to repair that, to see each other, to have a sense of community in a really big urban space like Montreal.
Joey Partridge is the director of the Reaching Home, an urban Inuit program at the Makivik Corporation. He says the Makivik has been looking for a solution to the crisis for a long time, and they want to provide as much support as possible.
C'est sûr que ça va aider beaucoup, c'est sûr que ça va faire beaucoup de... ça va donner plus de moralité. Je pense que ça va donner plus de... ça va ouvrir plus les bras avec la situation qu'on voit surtout.
The program was funded by the Montreal Public Health Authority, the Network, and Makivik. Indigenous Project Quebec has a 5-year lease on the building.
Rien n'exclut le fait qu'on pourrait rester beaucoup plus longtemps ou même acquérir un bâtiment pour poursuivre notre mission et pour poursuivre cette initiative.
But for now, the focus remains on welcoming the first residents to their new homes. Maricela Amador, APTN National News, Montreal.
The Standing Committee on Indigenous and Northern Affairs continues its study on tax revenues from businesses on First Nations territories. This week, it heard from the Grand Chief of the Association of Iroquois and Allied Indians. Grand Chief Joel Abram is one of the last witnesses on this topic. NDP MP Laurie Idlaut asked him what types of changes needed when it comes to taxation to benefit First Nations. Abrams said historically, First Nations have been at the bottom of the list. They're now playing catch-up, including resource revenue sharing.
And there has been a lot of benefit from the taxation when it comes to supporting that. First Nations now control less than 1% of the land mass within Canada. And so Canada's enjoyed 99% of the land and the resources that have come out of that. And so we need to look at things not just in terms of taxation, but in terms of resource revenue sharing, and also looking at taking care of the environment in a sustainable way so that the next 7 generations can enjoy it the same way that we do today.
A Conservative hasn't represented the Northwest Territories in the House of Commons since 1984, but there are 2 Indigenous hopefuls trying to change that in time for the next federal election. They're squared off at a nomination event in Yellowknife. Party members will elect their candidate on June 29th. Either Kimberly Fairman, an Inuk from Kitikmeot region in Nunavut, or Jackie Jacobson from Inuvialuit from Tuktoyaktuk will be the next candidate. Fairman heads the Institute for Circumpolar Health Research. She says if elected, she will fight federal gun laws and the carbon tax, introduce private and public health care options, and settle land claims. And as for Jackie Jacobson, this former MLA for Nunavut says he'll lift the moratorium on oil and gas development in the Beaufort Delta, fix housing and healthcare issues, and also push back against the Liberal carbon tax.
All the numbers that we see now show that we are becoming the least successful jurisdiction of the Canadian economy. We have a drop in GDP, we have shrinking population, all coming up right before closures of the diamond mines. Land claims need to be settled. They've been dragging on, and we can't let that go on for another 20 years.
My plan would be to get rid of CMHC and that housing, the number of houses that are allotted for community. I'd want to get rid of that because that's the only way we're going to have growth in the communities for that. For housing, it's we're short probably 2,300 houses in the territory. People are, having to leave the communities because there's lack of housing. In some houses in the communities, there's like 10 or 15 people living in them, and it's a 2-bedroom.
2 First Nations in Ontario are challenging the lawyers over a $500 million bill in the Robinson-Huron Treaty Litigation Fund. That story when we return. Welcome back. The Institute for the Advancement of Aboriginal Women in Edmonton has been offering their services for 30 years, and for the past 5 years have been helping to assess their strengths and interests and find employment for Indigenous women. APTN's Chris Stewart has more.
This day, the Institute for the Advancement of Aboriginal Women is offering a workshop on careers in the aviation industry. An industry expert is detailing various careers available from air traffic controller, flight attendant, or mechanic. Alison Poiron is a training supervisor.
One of the ones that she is going to talk about is mechanics. She was a mechanic fixing planes, so she's really passionate about that. So she's going to come in and talk about that. And that it's not just a male-dominant role, that there is positions there for women if they want it as well.
Muriel Stanley Van began the Institute in 1994. Her daughter Rochelle is CEO. For 3 decades, the Institute has been providing housing assistance, financial literacy, and violence prevention programming, and job training. In 2019, they began offering free job entry and retention programs with the goal of helping Indigenous women find a career and keep it.
The need is so great that we needed time to kind of get ourselves in order and know what we're doing. So that kind of took some time, but now, yeah, our numbers are increasing every year, and it's great to see Indigenous women who are getting the training and also getting employed, which is so important.
She says the feedback has been very positive.
We do have the opportunity to, provide more employment to Indigenous women. We believe that helps the whole family, and then in turn, deals with the cost of living issues that are out there, all those types of things, confidence building. So it is kind of a game changer in our regards in that once they're employed, things start to fall into place.
You can find more information at iaaw.ca. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Edmonton.
2 First Nations communities in Northern Ontario will be challenging $500 million in legal fees associated with the Robinson-Huron Treaty Litigation Fund. CTV's Amanda Hicks has more.
We live in a day and age where everything costs a lot of money, but that is over the top money.
The legal fees for the Robinson-Huron Treaty Litigation Fund are pegged at $510 million. The chiefs of Atikmikshing, Anishinaabeg, and Garden River First Nation announced that they have begun a court application to examine if the fees were fair.
This is not in any way chastising the lawyers in any way. We're very happy with the results of the settlement. But as a trustee, I still have a legal obligation to follow all the legal rules.
Atikmikshing and Anishinaabeg argued that the 21 Robinson-Huron treaties have already paid millions of dollars in legal fees throughout the course of the $10 billion settlement. Garden River First Nation Chief Karen Bell says there was a lack of transparency.
Why can't you tell us how many lawyers that are in the firm working on this and what their hourly rates are and what work they've been doing to total the amount that you're asking?
Both say the funds could go to support their community.
I like to think it's enough where we could even create, say, an education trust, right? Where we could put it into a trust and the money, the interest earned on that would grow every year, and we could use that interest earned to fund our students, right? And that's the impact it's going to have on our nation.
We realized that we could bring our people home. We could create prosperity for them. We could assist them in driving forwards to independent businesses, or to get higher education, or better quality of life, or better structural homes, whatever the case may be.
CTV News reached out to the law firm that represented the settlement, but we did not hear back in time for broadcast. Nudishai says the decision won't delay distribution of the settlement funds set for August. While there's no firm court date set as of yet, both are hopeful for a quick resolution. Amanda Hicks, CTV News, Naughton.
We now want to tell you about one of this week's new web poll questions at aptnnews.ca. Have you picked up your treaty payment this year? Yes? No? I don't get treaty payments. I know I haven't picked up mine for many years, so I'm probably just catched up real good. Go to aptnnews.ca to have your say. Graduation season is here. We'll take you to one important event in Fort Qu'Appelle, Saskatchewan, right after these messages. Over on the East Coast, St. John 17, Charlottetown 21. Anujuac 10 with rain, La Grande River 15. St. Jovite 21, Seguene 17. Toronto 23, North Bay 23. Timmins 24, Big Trout Lake 14. Churchill 4, Puckatawagan 11. Winnipeg 16, Dauphin 15. Saskatoon 10, Yorkton 13 and sunny. Stony Rapids 4 with rain, Buffalo Narrows 9. Rain and 4 in Fort Chipewyan, Fort McMurray 6. Rainy in Lethbridge 25, Calgary 4 with sun. Tofino 11, Kamloops 10. Fort Nelson 12, Smithers 11. Beaver Creek 23, Mayo 13. Yellowknife 8, Wrigley 12. Inuvik 13, Colville Lake 12. Baker Lake 8, Whale Cove 2 with rain. Clyde River 2, Arctic Bay 8. From the big city to rural Saskatchewan, graduating high school is an important time for young people across Turtle Island. CTV's Mick Favel has more on an annual event created to celebrate the achievement of high school graduates in Treaty 4 territory.
For the third year in a row, soon-to-be graduates from Treaty 4 territory met up for a special occasion. An 8-kilometer trek beginning in the village of Lebret, eventually ending at the Treaty 4 Governance Centre in Fort Qu'Appelle. The walk allowed the students to ponder about their educational journey and anything they would have done differently.
I had my ups and downs. Sometimes I didn't want to go to school. Sometimes school kept me busy, so I enjoyed it. And knowing this is my last year, I kind of wish that I had a little bit more fun in it.
The Walk of Honor, as it's called, is not only a time to celebrate high school graduation, it's also a time to remember the ancestors and their hardships, which has helped shape here and now. It's something Vera Toronjo hopes the grads take moving forward.
And the heartbeat of awe is inside us, and we're strong, and the blood of a beautiful nation flows through us. If they only knew that nothing would stop them, to keep their head up, saying, hey, I come from a strong nation, a resilient nation.
For the time being, the soon-to-be graduates can now see the finish line and hope others who are close finish strong.
No matter what the challenges are, because it is hard to go to school, especially with all these other people, because a bunch of stuff happens, just keep going, because who else is going to stop you except yourself?
I say push it. You graduate once, that's dead and done, and you won't have to worry for the rest of your life.
Going forward, Pepicas' Cree Nation will be planning the walk for 2025. They hope the weather cooperates and more nations come on out. Mick Favel, CTV News, Fort Capel.
Throughout all of June, we've been sharing poems from First Nations, Inuit, and Métis writers for Indigenous History Month. Today's featured poem comes from Rebecca Thomas. Here's Rebecca reading her heartfelt submission titled, Age Gracefully.
I am less than thrilled that I can see where my face is starting to sag. Where my collagen production has started to lag, I wasn't aware of how many crows have walked in the corners of my eyes. I am frustrated by the pebbled landscape of my thighs. The wisps of gray that are emerging in my black hair are bold declarations that my youth is waning, because in spite of myself, I'm aging. My feet will ache if I wear the wrong pair of shoes. I often seek hot packs to soothe, a sore muscle here, creaky joint there. My knuckles bulge and my chin has more hair. I am closer to last blood than first. My skin always thirsts. My breasts yearn to be closer to the ground. The corners of my mouth slowly creep down. Gravity keeps playing and never lets me forget that I am aging. I am frustrated by new social media apps. I keep my hands folded in my lap. Saturday mornings are no longer for cartoons. Instead, I drink tea and read the news. I see young faces that look like mine, minus all the fine lines, held static forever, trapped in time. Her disappearance is someone's byline, and I am raging because, unlike her, I am aging. Joy gets to leave her lasting presence on my skin. I have time yet to scar, birth, and sing. I will experience my last blood. I will have time to be loved. I will get to fail and try and laugh and cook and feel pain. I get to do all of this stuff because, unlike her, I am lucky enough to age.
Thank you, Rebecca. And that's your midday newscast for this Monday, June 17th. We'll be back again for your evening newscast in a few hours. Hi miigwech masicho. Thank you for watching. We leave you with more sights and sounds from the Memorial Powwow in Winnipeg.